What's up, everyone? This is Max Red. Today we're going to go over several ways to add guitar elements to our tracks without actually playing the guitar. Although we'll be working in Cubase Pro, you'll be able to use these tips while working in other DAWs such as FL Studio, Ableton, or Logic Pro X. So let's get started. The first method of adding guitar is simply using a VST synth. Today we will work with Omnisphere and use a patch called Fingerstyle Acoustic 6-string. Once we create the track, we can lay down some basic chords for this demonstration. We're going to work in E minor and lay down a basic chord progression as follows. Once we have our chords, we can work in piano roll and adjust the notes as we want. A tip in making guitar chords is to offset the strums, because in real life, a guitar does not hit all the notes at the same time, so we move over the top notes just a little bit. After we extend our notes, we'll be able to hear our chord progression in the 4-bar pattern that we made. Let's take a listen. A good idea is to copy this MIDI pattern so we can use it again later. We can also add some accent notes to our current pattern and see what that sounds like. An editing tip is to highlight several notes at the same time so you can bring down the velocity as a group. Another tip is to set your scale in Scale Assist. We're working in E minor Aeolian, and so only those notes will show. It's a great tool to use to stay within the scale of your project. To add some sauce to our chords, we'll use a new plugin called Origin by Somatics. This will add a vintage texture and feel. We'll top it off with a little reverb using Valhalla Vintage Verb with an EQ behind it. I'm using an effect track and sends so we can route other tracks to this as well. Let's listen. Another way that we can add some guitar to our project is to use a sampler track. I have previously recorded a single note in E using an acoustic guitar. Once we create our track, I'll go ahead and drop it into the sampler control. Once the sample is in, we make sure we set the root note to E. For this demonstration, we're simply going to use the copy of the MIDI event that we used in our earlier example. Let's hear what that sounds like now. We're actually going to raise our entire chord progression one whole octave to E3. For this example, we're just gonna add reverb and see what that sounds like. We'll use a preset called Echo Verb. The last way that we can add a guitar to our track is to go into Contact and open up our Native Instruments Electric Sunburst. This is a guitar emulator and it's great for making riffs, backbeats, and strum patterns. Native Instruments also has acoustic versions of this instrument. There are hundreds of patterns to choose from. I've selected the one called Ibiza D. We're also going to drag in the same MIDI pattern that we have been working with so far. Working with electric sunburst can be a little tricky. The guitar simulation is based on tempo and patterns that don't necessarily sound good in every situation. For this track, I'm going to invert the middle notes. We're going to mute the root notes, and we're also going to mute those accent notes that we put in earlier. And we're just going to do this by hand. We have extended our notes the whole length of the bar and made a few adjustments. Let's listen. The last thing I'll show you is how we can make layers using all of the guitar tracks that we made.